Thank you for joining us for another episode of Thank You for You,
where every story matters.
When I'm in the situation, I assume that everybody else's life is perfect and I'm the only one who sucks, right? Mm-hmm. And I know that there are people, everybody else feels that way at certain points in their lives. So it's nice to know that there are other people who are just like, hey, you're not alone. Like, I'm experiencing this too, and right. I can help you if you want. Like, right. If you want something to talk to.
If we could all just be that real about it.
Right?
Communicate. Mm-hmm. Communicate to whoever how you're feeling. Like, hey, your friends, like, I'm down. I need help. I feel this way. It just makes it so much better. And it lets somebody know, like, hey, let me check in on you, or let me help you, or... Right. It just helps so much.
It's like we have to change that narrative and that stigma, because
I mean, you're starting it. I mean, you're helping change it. So good job on you.
That's our goal. It really is. So thank you. We appreciate that. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Thank You for You. We have a very special guest. We have Samoa Blanchett. She is a web designer. She taught herself art and graphic design at a young age, started school and decided to work for herself in web design. She is a successful young entrepreneur, and we are excited. Samoa, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
You wanted to share with us this week about stepping away from toxic people and things in your life, and how that has helped you step into yourself more. What has that journey been like for you?
I love to say it's been easy and amazing and the best journey ever, but it hasn't, and I'm still smack dab in the middle of the journey. But I do have to say that while it has been painful and many tears have been shed throughout my journey, I'm stepping into a more powerful person. I'm a lot more impactful. I'm a lot happier with myself and proud of myself. So yeah, there are tears and frustration that have been cried, but there's also a sense of pride and fulfillment that I found that I never even knew was possible. So that's like the best way for me to describe the journey overall.
Well, so you found some light in the journey. That's pretty cool. Where did this kind of begin for you? What was the root of the toxicity, and what's caused this pain for you?
The toxicity started with my parents, like when I grew up, where I grew up and stuff. They were very emotionally and mentally abusive. And the thing is, it's like I didn't even know that because I had no one to compare them to. It's not like I was like, oh yeah, like let me compare them to these other parents I've had before. Like that's never happened. So when I was living with them, I was taught that I should be grateful for what I have, and that so many other people would wish to have parents like mine because they made so many sacrifices for me, and they did everything to provide for me physically and materially. But at the time, when I was living with them, my soul was literally begging for help. Like I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I had a place in this world. I didn't feel like I was wanted or needed. I didn't feel important. Like there were so many negative emotions and toxic emotions that were running through me. And at the time, honestly, I thought there was something wrong with me. I didn't think that it was my environment or the people around me that affected the way I felt about myself. I thought that I judged myself because I thought, oh my God, you have everything that you could ever want. Because my parents they're pretty well off. Like they're like in the middle class. So, like, I didn't really suffer for anything, you know? Like, I grew up pretty comfortably. So I was judging myself and telling myself, what the heck is wrong with you? Because I didn't want to live here. I didn't feel happy. And I even thought about dying because I just did not want to live on this earth anymore because I felt so sad and depressed and horrible and unfulfilled at the time.
Were you able to talk to your parents? Like, if you had brought that up to your parents, how you were feeling, or how did you deal with it? One, were you able to talk to your parents about how you were feeling, and how did you deal with it?
Well, I didn't understand the feelings, and I was very ashamed of them for a really long time. And I would bring it up at times in my own way, like, because they would notice when I would get down in the dumps and be really depressed. And I think they did try. They just didn't understand anything, because sometimes they'd ask me what's wrong. And I'd say, oh, like, I just wish people would listen to me and blah, 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 blah. Like, you know, like normal teenage tantrums. Because I couldn't really understand my own feelings to express them. Mm-hmm. I do remember one time I was really upset at my mom because of something she said to me. And I went out, I was really upset. So I just went in the backyard, and then my dad saw me, and he saw that I was clearly upset, and he asked me what was wrong. And I told him that I just didn't like the way that my mom did this and that and that. And he was like, well, you should talk to your mom. Mm. And I went and I talked to her, and I told her what was wrong, but I only got blame. It was literally like, you know, like those half-assed apologies where it's like, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Where it's not where the person isn't really addressing the fact that they did something to hurt your feelings. It's more like, I'm sorry you feel this way. And anyways, I'm a good person. I'm a mom. You're lucky to have me, da-da-da-da-da. And it was the same tape being rewound where, yeah, sure, you may feel this certain way about me or us, but you're lucky to have parents like us. So it was just the same thing over and over and over again. And eventually, subconsciously, every time I spoke out, that's the same thing that I would hear. So subconsciously, I basically learned, I was taught that my feelings and my thoughts and my opinions didn't matter. So eventually I just stopped talking about it and just stopped speaking out and trying to and so I basically had to deal with it myself and cope with it alone.
So how did that move through the rest of your childhood? Did that show up in school? Did that show up in other ways?
Oh my God, yes.
In your life?
Yeah, the biggest thing that it still shows up to this day. It makes less of an impact on me now, especially because I'm more aware of it. But throughout my childhood, and I didn't even realize it, a lot of the times I wasn't proud of myself. Like I wasn't satisfied with myself because of the fact that my parents would tell me that I'm not a good enough daughter and that I'm the worst kid ever and da-da-da. And the thing is, like, looking back, especially compared to kids my own age, I was an angel. But, I mean, of course I made mistakes, but I was an angel. But my parents would tell me that I was the worst kid ever. Like, I didn't deserve them as parents. I didn't deserve, and subconsciously it's like, oh, you don't deserve my love. You don't deserve everything that I've done for you. Like, and that's subconsciously what they were telling me. So I tried really, really, really hard to impress them and make them proud of me for a really long time, even after I moved out of their house. So that's how it translated. But even in school, like, I'm a very creative person. And from middle school to the end of high school, my mom just wanted me to go in the medical field, which is, I really do not like the medical field. I just don't like it. It kills my creativity. And because of that, my grades started suffering for a while, like, because I wanted to make her proud, but I really, like, I felt like my happiness and my soul was being starved as I grew up. And so I had no drive, no motivation, no ambition for anything. Like, even the things I used to love doing, I didn't want to do anymore because I felt like none of it mattered. Like, so
So were you feeling you had to sacrifice the things that you wanted to fulfill the expectations of your parents, be a doctor, go into the medical field? So when that became the pressure of your parents, you were like, well, I have to give up these things because it's not what is expected.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And I just gave up on everything. Like, I gave up on myself. Like, I didn't even think for a while in my teenage years, I didn't even try because I didn't expect to do anything with my life. Like, there was a lot of self-sabotage that went on where I was really reckless. Not like reckless to the point of illegal activity, but pretty reckless with just reckless through because my parents were really strict. So with like the little room that I had,
you tested the little space that was available. You made sure
yeah, I made sure I just abused that space, and I was really reckless. And many times, like, I almost basically didn't have a future because of it. So it affected me in that way. And the thing is, I just didn't understand, because looking back now, I see it as I didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand why I was doing it. But the biggest thing was that it was a cry for help. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand who I was anymore, because as a kid, I had a pretty good understanding of who I was. But as I spent more time with my parents, and subconsciously I was told that who I was and what I wanted didn't matter anymore, I started losing that piece of myself, and I started hating myself because I didn't like the person I was becoming and I was turning into.
How old were you when you start feeling like you didn't like yourself anymore and the person you were becoming?
I think it started probably when middle school started, around 11 or 12 years old. I didn't realize it was happening. And then I realized that I really hated myself around 15 or 16 years old. Like, that's when it came into my awareness that, wow, you really don't like yourself, Samoa. And I started acknowledging it, and I was like, okay, well, that needs to change because I don't like not liking myself,
What happened at 16 that made that so clear to you?
Okay, so I'm gonna get really personal. Okay, so as I told you, my parents were really strict, and when I was 15 or 16, I'm Haitian born. So, like, my parents are Haitian too, like, from the Caribbean. So, for those of you guys who are Caribbean kids, y'all already know how crazy Caribbean parents can be. But anywho, so at 15 years old, I met a boy, and as I said, I was pretty reckless. So, like, I didn't even really like the boy. I don't even know why I did it, but I made out with the boy, and he left horrible hickeys, and he was a really bad kisser. So my lips were like 10 times their current size because of how much.
What kind of kiss?
I know, right?
What was going on?
Fighting.
I swear to God, he was
a Kylie Jenner kiss.
Kylie Jenner would be jealous. But yeah, so that happened, and of course I went home and my parents noticed. And they were like, we're gonna send you to Haiti, we're never gonna bring you back to America, like, basically telling me I would have no more future. Like, whatever future I expected to have, I would not have that, because they were still severely disappointed in me, and they were even said, like, my dad bought the plane tickets, he renewed my passport, like, he went through everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, I was going to be shipped to Haiti with no hope of ever coming back. That was gonna happen. And at the time, when they first said it, I didn't care. That's when it's like, I'm not gonna shit on Haiti, but especially because I grew up here, there's nothing for me there. Like, there's no, like, with the brilliance that I have right now, like, everything I've accomplished over the past couple of years, I would not have been able to accomplish it in Haiti, especially not the way that I have. So, like, if that had happened and I had been shipped to Haiti, I don't know where I would be or what I would be doing right now. But the thing is, I didn't care. And it really, really hit me that I really did not care. Like, the fact, like, I wouldn't have a future. Like, they were going to decide that I would not really have a future, and I didn't care. And literally, I think it was the night before my flight, it kind of hit me, and it was like, but you can do so much better. And I guess I just started rewinding all the tapes in my head of things I had accomplished before, and thinking about what I really asked myself what I wanted to do, because I never actually thought about what I wanted to do with my life, because I let my mom dictate it for so long. So for me, life wasn't worth living if my parents were just going to decide every point of my life now, right? Mm-hmm. So I thought about really what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish in life and what I wanted out of it. And once I really started thinking about that, I was like, do I really think it's possible? And I thought if I really wanted it, that was the one thing. It's like, if I really want it, I knew that I would be able to get it, to accomplish what I wanted. So I was like, you know what? You're not going to Haiti. Like, you care. All of a sudden, you care now. And I literally begged my parents not to send me. And my dad told me no so many times. I made them breakfast. I burnt the eggs. I groveled at their feet for them to say, you're not going anymore. And they still said no. Until one of my parents' friends came, literally hours before my flight, and she was talking to them, and she was like, she's never begged for anything before.
She might really mean this.
There's a change happening. She's never begged for anything. So just give her this, and we'll see what she does. And if she doesn't change within the so my dad gave me an ultimatum. He was like, if I don't see a change in the next 6 months, I'm buying you another ticket and you're going to Haiti. And I was like, okay.
So is it like the realness of that moment, the realness of it actually happening, the reality of it kind of forced you into a place, or maybe opened up a place that you hadn't explored before, where it's like, yo, we do care. And it sounds like you're saying you realized you had more control than you thought you had.
There you go.
From that real ass moment of being shipped away.
Yeah, I realized that because in a way, and it was kind of owning up to my actions, because even that situation, I landed myself in it. And instead of being the victim and always saying, oh, it's my parents and my parents and my parents, yeah, they played a huge part in it, but all the choices that I made and the actions I took were all mine. They didn't control that. So I guess, and this isn't I'm realizing this as I'm talking to you. I never consciously admitted this to myself, but yeah, it was it was a turning point of me gaining control of my life. Because after that, I pretended to be the little good Jehovah's Witness girl that they wanted me to be. I knew I didn't want to be it, but I knew that's what I needed to survive and not get shipped to Haiti and get what I want, achieve my goals. So I pretended as long as I needed to. I made the plans that I needed to make so that I could get the hell out of there, because I knew that staying there would only limit my progress. So I did what I had to do, and eventually I left, and now I'm living the life of my dreams. So
was that the turning point where you
that self-awareness?
Yeah, on yourself, you said you were had gone through depression and trying to work on yourself. And was that the turning point where you just started, to figure out okay, let me get myself out of this. Let me feed my soul. Let me do it, make myself happy, working on your spiritual self.
Yes. Even though at the time I didn't know that's what I was doing. You see, I didn't read any self-help books. I didn't listen to any podcasts like this one. I didn't even know those resources were available. I just consciously decided that I just wanted to hate myself a little less. And so I was like, we're going to
try this.
So that was the start. It was first, I used to think I was the ugliest duckling ever. So it started out with my physical appearance and accepting and loving parts of myself, physical parts of myself that I hated. And then once I started loving that part, which was actually the easy part, it was loving who I was, which was extremely difficult because I grew up in a Jehovah's Witness household where I was basically taught that my desires and the things I wanted were wrong. So it was really, really hard to embrace both my strengths and my weaknesses, all of my imperfections, just everything that made me. Like, I'm still going through that process of embracing it because it was taught to me. It was like banged into my head that we are supposed to be like perfect. Like, we are supposed, like, our sins and all that stuff. It's like all of the things that I was taught through that religion, I had to let go of. And
what was the process of you letting go of that? I know some people that grew up Jehovah's Witness. I know people who grow up in other religions or structures that teach one version of, you use the word perfect, one version of what perfection is and what's expected and what's right and what's wrong. So when you were in the middle of that, like, and having to show your parents, like, yeah, I'm this perfect Jehovah's Witness girl, but still at the same time doing what you need to do to do what you want to do and set yourself up for future success. How did you do that? How did you manage that? What kind of things were you doing for yourself behind closed doors?
I'm not gonna lie,
not
like,
be swallowed.
It was criticizing them, just making fun of their beliefs. Like, I went through a really long period of just making fun of it, because the more I made fun of it, the less real it was. The less real it was for me. So a lot of times, like, I would talk to my friends I'm like, oh my God, that's so stupid. Like, this is what they think and da 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 da. And like, we literally just talk about it and how it didn't make sense. For a really long time, I declared myself an atheist, even though deep down I knew I believed in something bigger than us. I just said I'm an atheist because it was easier to accept, to reject the things that I was taught, because my entire life I was taught this is the way God sees things and this is who God is. And I hated God. I'm not gonna lie. From what I was taught about him, I hated him and I didn't want to have anything to do with him. So I was like, I'm an atheist. So that was another thing. And the other thing was, in a way, I was still very much myself. So I spent a lot of time just rediscovering who I am and accepting it. Like, I would lean towards a certain specific type of person or stray away from a person. And instead of judging myself for wanting the things that I wanted and not wanting things I didn't want, I was expected to want, I got to understand why. And that's why, like, now when people meet me, I ask a lot of questions and they're like, wow, you have so many questions. And it's because I learned to ask myself a lot of questions. So whenever I was doing something or I wanted to do something, I wouldn't just say, oh, this is just what I want to do or this is what I like to do. I would really get deep and ask myself why I like to do certain things, or I even why do I like a certain flavor of ice cream over the other? Like, I got really, really curious about myself and really, really got to know who I am first. So I spent a lot of time doing that, which is why I think the entire time I was there, it was pretty bearable most of the time, because I spent most of that time I was in my own head.
Yeah, I think that's powerful, though, especially asking so many questions to yourself. A lot of people will end up doing that, but later in life, after going through a lot of things, to become self-aware. So that's really powerful that you were able to tap into that at such a young age. Yeah. And yeah, that's really cool.
Did you think you asked those questions to make sure it was you that felt that way and not like what you had taught through your religion?
Yeah, that was the other thing, because it was like all of the things I wanted that didn't align with it was supposed to be Satan, like putting ideas in my head, right? So it's the devil in my head. And I was just like, but the devil's kind of cool though. Like, not good. Like, at first, like, those thoughts and the things I wanted, it was supposed to be the devil, but I'm like, but why is it was also questioning the specific things. because my parents did notice me starting to stray away from the religion, even though my mom didn't want to admit it to herself. So she had somebody study the Bible with me again. So I felt for the choice that she made, the person she chose to study the Bible with me was amazing, because I felt free. I didn't care about what she thought of me, because it wasn't my mom. So I didn't care about what she thought of me. So I felt free to ask questions. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like, this really doesn't make sense. I hate this about this. And so I would, like, she would tell me certain things, and she's like, what do you think of this? And I tell her the truth. So as I started telling her the truth and really voicing my opinions and voicing it to other people, because that's the thing, like, a lot of times we have thoughts and we leave them in our heads and we just judge the thoughts quietly because we're afraid of what other people are going to think, right? But when you're in a safe space and you are surrounded by people who you feel like they're going to accept you no matter what, you're going to share those thoughts, and you're going to realize, hey, you're actually not alone, because these people think the same thoughts or similar thoughts. So with that said, it was that lady, even though I didn't fully express myself because I was very careful, because I knew she'd probably tell my mom if I said anything too crazy that was like way out of line. So I share most of my thoughts with her, some of my thoughts with her, but the rest I just shared with my friends from school. Like I would just be like, that's crazy. Like, I don't understand that, and da-da-da. And I also had a friend who was a Jehovah's Witness, but she didn't want to be. So, like, we were both kind of in the same boat. So we would discuss those things together. So it's getting out of your own head and putting those thoughts and ideas out into the world, like, and having that, and knowing that other people feel the same way. That kind of gives you a little bit of consolation. It's like, okay, I'm not crazy.
And I think just saying it out loud helps too.
Right. Just writing it down or putting it out loud. Yeah, it's getting it out.
Just getting it out makes you be like, okay, wait.
Yeah, and I do think there's power in finding like minds that could, I mean, obviously we're going to have people who are like, that could be dangerous though. Like, but when you're trying to figure things out and you, like you said, you find people who you can talk to who think the same things or are questioning the same things, and done in a healthy way, you guys can, just help each other find yourselves. But yeah. So during this time, like when you're doing all this self-discovery and like feeling a bit more freedom to be yourself and not feel so threatened or as threatened, how did this translate to the plans that you mentioned earlier? You were making plans to get out and plans to, like, did you already know what you wanted to do? Like what you do now? Did you always know you wanted to be a web designer? Were you plotting like, all right, I'm about to dip and go, I'm going to be the best web designer and I'm ready to go? Like, what was what was your journey, that this plot that you were making? What was that?
Well, the first part was when I was in high school, because my high school was a technical high school. So my mom wanted me to join the nursing program so that when I graduated, I'd be a registered nurse, which was really cool. But I already knew I didn't want to do that. So I signed up for art classes there instead. And I learned how to do graphic design. I didn't know that I wanted to be a graphic designer or a web designer. I didn't know. But, like, I started doing graphic design, and I sucked. Like, I was getting F's, D's, and F's. Like, I was failing the class that I took because I felt like taking it. So that was one. But eventually I taught myself how to draw. Because the thing is, like, the class didn't teach me how to draw. It just taught me basic design principles and stuff like that. And so if you don't know how to draw already, you're going to fail the class. So I taught myself how to draw. I taught myself to be more creative and artistic, step out of my comfort zone, etc. And art was basically my escape at first. And then I realized that I really, really wanted to do design for a living, graphic design. So my plan was to go to school for graphic design, graduate, get my bachelor's, get a job, and then work my way up the corporate ladder because I always knew that I was a leader. I always had like leadership tendencies. So I was like, I want to be an art director and just tell all the graphic designers what to do. Like eventually that's what I'm going to do. So I had that rough outline and that rough plan. And I had talked to my teacher, my graphic design teacher, who had kind of become a mentor for me. And we did that. And she suggested that I go to USF in St. Petersburg, which is near Tampa. She was like, hey, it's a great school for design and it's not really expensive. It's still a state school, et cetera, et cetera. So I had those plans lined up. They didn't go as I planned, but that was literally my step-by-step of what I was going to do with my life. The thing is, life has a funny way of telling you, psych. Right. So when I moved out, so like the way life unfolded, and I'm glad it actually unfolded that way and didn't go according to plan, but the way life unfolded, I ended up starting my own business and realized that the sector of graphic design that I really, really love, although I love design in general, I just love web designing. I love how I can help a business owner go from not feeling very confident in their online presence and their web presence to making them go, hey, you know, you should check out my website, and like just telling everybody to check out their website because they're so proud of having something that truly represents them. So life experiences led me to where I am today. The plan, it didn't really go according to the plan that my 16-year-old self made, but I'm actually pretty glad that it didn't.
Yeah, and like, who knows if you hadn't made a plan at all, you know, like, so I think that's, you know, the fact that you at least started out, like, set the goal and were making a plan kind of probably triggered the events, you know. So where you are now with, so you said that it's still something that you deal with, and it's mainly, what part of it do you still deal with now from feeling trapped and not able to be yourself as a child?
I still feel the ghosts of that, like the effects of it, because sometimes I still I still don't speak my mind, or I still don't act the way I want to act, especially when I'm around new people that I don't really know. Like, I'm not really fully Samoa, right? So there's that. And then there's just a lot of self-doubt that I've learned to kind of coach myself through, like parent myself through, but it's still there. Like, there's still a lot of self-doubt. And to be honest, I'm not myself when I'm around my family. Like, I don't, like, I turn back into the Samoa who didn't know how to express herself or to be herself, and who didn't really believe in herself, and who hated herself. Like, it literally happens. Like, I visited my parents in the past since I've moved out, and every time I'm around them, it comes up again. I don't know if I've done a lot of work since I've seen them, because it's been almost a year since I've seen them. Actually, it has been a year since I've seen them. So I've done a lot of work since then, but I actually don't know, like, if it's like how I would react around them anymore still, because I still think I have a lot to do before I'm completely free from that. Mm-hmm.
Before you have the confidence to just show up to them as you.
Yeah, and I still see it pop up with people where I'm just not myself, and I know that I'm not myself, and I know that I'm not showing up fully. It's not like I'm acting like someone else. I'm just not showing up fully as Samoa.
Kind of in a shell.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of, exactly. Yeah. I'm just in my shell.
Is that fear, or is it just, because I know you said, especially around new people, and I think for a lot of us can be just normal. Like, we're like, hold on, are they going to accept, because we're taught that anything that's different is this. I hate this word, but it's like everything that's different is weird. Mm-hmm. So we're like, oh, they won't accept my quirks or my quote unquote weirdness. So is that part of why you?
But I know, because it's like I can't really explain this feeling. I just know that Samoa, at the core of who I am, I don't care. about what people think. I don't care if they think I'm weird. And sometimes I do show up that way. Like, I've even embarrassed my boyfriend at times because I end up like dancing in the middle of the grocery store without even realizing that I'm in public. And that's weird, technically. Yeah, that's weird. Nobody does that. And I've had people like see me dancing and then they'll laugh at me and they'll be like, girl, keep dancing, because I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot I was in public. So I'm weird, I'm random, I do crazy things. So it does, like, I feel like, so I know when I'm not showing up fully, because whatever comes to my mind, I just do it without thinking about who's watching or who's listening or what's going on. I just express myself fully. But I know when I'm not doing that, when I actually care about what other people have to say or think, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
The Samoa I want to become doesn't care about people's acceptance, because, like, my favorite quote right now is, like, those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. So, who cares?
So you said you've done a lot of work in the past year since you've seen your parents, and probably even before you saw them last. But so what have you done to step more fully into yourself and to get to where you are now, to kind of, work on this healing path? And
well, the main things I've done is I do a lot of journaling. Especially in the beginning, I did a lot of journaling, and I did hire a coach who helped me with my mindset and the way I see myself and the way I see the world and other people. We're still working together, by the way, and I hired her a year ago. So, like, I'm just showing you how, like, it's done in layers. Like, even when you think you're done, there's always more work to be done.
Right.
Yeah, that's till we leave this place.
Yeah.
There's more that can be revealed.
Right.
Exactly. So journaling and my coach has helped me a lot. Now, I feel like once you get deeper into the journey, you're able to, like, I'm a lot more self-aware. So, and honest with myself. Like, I try not to lie to myself. So when I notice a behavior or pattern before, where I would just ask, why is this happening? And da-da-da-da-da. Like, now I try to rectify it. Whenever, like, I have this idea of the person I want to be, right? And if you're listening to this and you don't have an idea of who you want to be, please, like, literally write it down. Like, 5 years from now, who would you like to be? And when you do it, it may start with just, thinking about material possessions and your career and relationships. Like, it'll start with that, but really think about the person you would like to be, how you feel about certain situations, how you react to certain situations, how people feel around you. So, and it's funny because recently I was hanging out with a friend who was going through a lot, and we're not really that close, but she told me, like, we were talking and she told me, you know what, like, you have this vibe around you that makes me feel calm and makes me feel like I can do anything in the world. And I was like, oh my God, you just made my day. Like, because that's what I'm striving to become. So I have this idea of the person I want to be, and the way she thinks and the way she acts and how unstoppable she can be and stuff like that. And that's who it's like Samoa at 25 years old is like this. And I have, like, this list of the characteristics that I hold. So I'm literally coaching and parenting myself to grow into that person. So whenever I have a specific thought, it's like, would 25-year-old Samoa have this thought? And would she really think like this? Because, because of the way I was taught not to see the worst in people, to expect the worst from people. I was taught to make decisions based out of fear instead of, what was possible and what I wanted. So there are a lot of things that I've been unlearning and that I'm aware of. So whenever I'm going to make a decision, whenever I have a thought about somebody, I literally replace that thought with the thought that I feel like, hey, this is what who I want to be would think, and this is how they would think. So it's a process. I don't know if you understood that.
No, it's good. Yeah.
Okay.
I love that idea to write that down. And
Yeah, it really, really helps. And I even like have like I talked to my boyfriend and he did it too. And it's like just really think about who you want to be. Because we compare ourselves a lot to other people and like we're like, I want to be like this person, but we don't really know those people. Even if they have this really great vibe around them, we don't really know what goes on in their heads and who they are. So I love knowing who I want me to be. And it improves every time because as I get more self-awareness and I become more of that person, I see other ways for myself to improve. I'm like my most constructive critic. Like of all the people around me, I'm like my most constructive critic.
Well, at least it's coming from you and, not the external.
Yeah, that's true. But I also welcome it, like external criticism. Like it's hard sometimes, especially when I'm letting my ego in. Like, how dare you speak to me that way? Or how dare you say that to me? Like, how rude. But I'm learning to just, like, when somebody says something, to listen to it and see if it applies to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not saying I completely accept it because sometimes it's really just their opinion and their perspective and it has nothing to do with me. But if it is something like, okay, like today, I talked to somebody and honestly, I did her wrong. Like, I really did her wrong because I didn't keep her in the loop of a project that we were working on for, like, weeks. And that's because I hadn't done I hadn't made any progress in the project. So I felt uncomfortable about talking to her until I actually accomplished something. Yeah. So I didn't keep her in the loop. And then later, like today, she messaged me and I was like, I'm so sorry. I haven't been able to do it, da-da-da-da-da. And she was like, honestly, like, I don't mind that you haven't been able to do anything. What I hate is that you haven't been honest with me and you haven't told me what's going on and kept me in the loop. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like, that's real. Like, like, it's not just how she feels. It's the fact that I didn't do it. And so I asked myself, why didn't you do that? And it was like, well, I was ashamed. So there was the feelings of shame. There was the feeling of fear that she would be annoyed or pissed off at me and I didn't want to deal with that. So all those feelings were coming up and I addressed them. I was like, this is how I felt. I apologize. I'm sorry. I will do better next time. And we move on and we moved on. So it's also being able to know that you're imperfect and you're going to make mistakes and accepting that, learning from it, and then moving on.
And how do you think you would have dealt with that had you not learned the things that you've learned? Her saying those things to you, how do you think you would have responded before?
With more shame. There'd just be more shame there where not only would I beat myself up over it for like the next couple of weeks, I'd be like, I'm the worst person ever. Like, I told her I was going to do this and I didn't, da-da-da-da-da. So it was like that. I'd beat myself up and I would deflect it when it came to her. I probably apologized to her just because I was taught to be polite in general, but I wouldn't have internalized what she said so that I could make myself a better person. Like, I would just be like, oh, wow, I'm sorry I did that to you. I'm sorry you feel that way. The half-ass apology.
Right. the one you were mad about your mom for doing.
Right. There you go. That one. I'd be like that, and I'd be like, I'll do better next time. But it wouldn't be as conscious. Because not only did I learn to do better next time with her, but I've learned, like, now I've internalized it so that I don't do the same thing to anybody else that I come across. Because she pointed out that I have a communication issue. It's like, okay, that's a problem. Am I okay with having a communication issue? No, I'm not. So let me do better at it. And so with every situation, I'm trying to be better at that. Like, I know that this is a flaw that I have and I'd like to fix it. So I'm going to learn to fix it. And so, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. It's like a filtering, like, do I accept this? Is this really me? If so, how can you, make it different in the future so you have a different outcome? That's
and not dope. To feel guilt about it. Like, don't spend days feeling like you said, guilt and shame that you would feel before. Just like, hey, I'm not going to do it next time. I'm going to make sure I learn from it.
Right. Yeah. Transmuting that into something productive and powerful for you. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was really hard for me to do, especially because every time I made a mistake, my parents threatened me to send me to Haiti. So it was being ashamed of literally every mistake I could ever make. And it still affects me to this day because I still think, especially with relationships I really care about, because that person wasn't really close to me. So it was easier for me to be like, okay, I made a mistake. I apologize for it and accept it and do better. Whereas if it was my coach, who is like a mother to me, or a really close friend that I really care about, or even my boyfriend, whenever I make a mistake and they address it, I automatically assume that they don't want to have a relationship with me anymore. Like that is the biggest, that is the fear and the dread that comes up. And that's because every time I made a mistake, my parents would be like, you don't deserve us. You don't deserve this. Like, we're going to ship you off and da, 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 da. So like, it's a behavior, it's a thought and it's a feeling that I'm learning to unlearn. And it's like, and the people who really mattered, like, whenever I do something that makes them feel horrible, da da da, like they just express it to me. I apologize, and then I'll express. I'm like, please don't stop being my coach. Like, please don't break up with me. And it's like, I'm gonna break up with you. I love you. You're imperfect. You're allowed to make mistakes. And it's like, oh wow, that's a different kind of love.
Well, I'm happy that you're learning that kind of love.
Yeah,
like the
for sure.
Love. And that's what everybody deserves.
Thank you. And
absolutely.
That's what I learned that I deserve. So I have no space for any other kind.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about 25-year-old Samoa.
Yeah, who is this person? Wait, so that's that's 5 years from now, you're 25?
Mm-hmm.
You're 20 years old?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, 25-year-old Samoa. 25-year-old Samoa does not let the opinions of others dictate what she does with her life. That's number one, because that's something I'm still working on. 25-year-old Samoa is also more considerate of other people. So you see, like, the kind of balance, because sometimes because I spent so many years in my own head for so long, I sometimes forget that other people exist in this world. So I have to take them into consideration. It's something that's been popping up a lot lately, actually. So you know that I need to work on that. 25-year-old Samoa plays. She plays a lot more, because right now I'm working and working and working, which is fine. Like, I don't mind. I'm a workaholic. But 25-year-old Samoa makes more time to do the
dance in the middle of the aisle.
Dance and play and dance in the middle of the aisle and all that stuff. So she does a lot more of that. Then there's like the physical things where she travels a lot more. Like, she has a thriving business that has a lot of passive income that supports her, which I am building towards. She probably lives in San Diego because I've always wanted to live there for some reason. And yeah, so it's things like that. And it's just, the biggest thing that I want to be is an inspiration. I want to be able to speak to people and inspire them to believe in themselves, to really see how limitless that they can be if they really just put their mind to something. Because I truly believe because I know that life deals us different cards and different physical limitations that may make it a little bit harder for us to reach our goals and what we want. But I think it makes it worth it. And so I love talking to people and seeing what they really, really want and identifying. Because I've dealt with my own fears and taken that leap, I'm really good at identifying other people's fears as to why they're not doing what they really want to be doing and helping them get through that. Like,
okay, even Coach Samoa.
Huh?
I said, okay, Coach Samoa.
But I don't want to be a coach. I don't. But I just really like doing that because I really love seeing the possibilities and them being able to see that possibility for themselves, because it's like, oh wow, I didn't know I could do that. And it's like, yeah, powerful.
So is it kind of like how you did that for yourself, showed yourself when you were 16, I believe you said, when you were younger, like, you know, we can create a life for ourselves. It doesn't have to be just this. We don't have to be shipped away. We can really do this and create a life that we enjoy. And you want to be able to do that for other people because you not only told yourself that, but you made it possible for yourself.
There's that. Yeah. So I want to be that inspiration. And that's already happening just with friends and people who just reach out to me. Like, there was this lady who reached out to me and she saw that I was a successful web designer, and she was like, oh yeah, I want to be a web designer. And I was like, why? And she was like, oh, because I learned it in school and I like it and it's fun and da 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 da. And then we just kept talking, and I realized that her real passion was actually fashion design. And she was damn good at it. Like, her clothes were beautiful, but she treated it as a hobby because she didn't think that she could make money off of it. And she needs to support her family and all that stuff. You know, the physical fears that come in. And I was like, girl, if you really went ham on your business and you grew your own fashion design business, you would be able to support your family because you're a natural at this and it's amazing and da-da-da-da-da. And funny enough, and it was just a normal text conversation. I didn't expect anything from it. Funnily enough, she just stopped doing her web design business and focused on her fashion design, just like that. And it was like, huh, okay.
It's like you helped her tap into, I think that's a fear that, well, we're kind of taught that. Like, what you do is a hobby, what you do for fun. Like, don't expect to make money from that. Don't expect anything from that. And then it gets ingrained. And when you do decide, sometimes it's hard to get out of that thought process. And it's like, well, I have to keep this as a hobby. But yeah, that's really cool. You're able to give her some empowerment and let her know, like, yo, it's possible. If you can work so hard on something you don't want to do and make it happen, like, you can definitely work hard at what you like doing. So yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, that's what I told her.
Yeah, it's good to have people like that, like you, to give that perspective, another perspective, like we were talking about earlier with, you know, when you were able to talk to your friends and realize you're not the only one thinking what you were thinking. Just having that outside perspective. It's good.
Yeah, it's always having the perspective and the support is really what helps you. Because it's like, you know that even if you make it gives you room to make mistakes. Because even if you make a mistake, you know that there are going to be people there to support you and be there for you no matter what. So it's always nice to have.
Yeah. So we know what 25-year-old Samoa says to 20-year-old Samoa, and how you're like, wait, but would 25-year-old Samoa do this? So what would 20-year-old Samoa say to 16-year-old Samoa? And how would you, what advice would you give her if you could change things, which obviously things are working great. But what would you say to 16-year-old Samoa and to help her realize that things are going to be okay?
Well, I would tell her first to follow her to trust her intuition, because there are a lot, like, just, I didn't understand. I mean, she did it already. She did trust her intuition, but it took her a lot longer to accept what her intuition was telling her, because she didn't, like, consciously she didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. So I tell her to do that. I tell her, hey, you know, trust.
But how? How could she do that? Like, tell her to trust her intuition, but how would you tell her to do that? If that made any sense.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm trying to think of a, like, logical answer to that, because it's more of a feeling.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, sometimes we do trust our intuition naturally, because it's like, hey, it's like, don't go there. That's scary. And you're like, I don't know why, but I'm not going to go there. So, like, sometimes that happens and it just comes naturally because it's just a quick reaction. But sometimes it's a thought and a feeling, and you just can't describe it. I would say literally lean towards the feeling. It's not something you can think out. It's not something that you can explain logically. And it's something that I'm still learning to do to this day in terms of trusting my intuition, because your brain always wants to take the logical steps.
Mm-hmm. And we're taught that too.
And we're taught that, exactly. And we're taught that. Whereas we want, like, that feeling that you have, it's everything. I'm going to give you an example. I've been trying to get clients recently because for some reason things have slowed down, right? I've tried so many of the logical things that have worked before, and they've been giving me some traction, but not the traction that I usually get or that I'm looking for. Yesterday, I was driving on Uber with my boyfriend, and I just thought, like, I had designed a really nice homepage just for fun. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to post this homepage in this specific Facebook group and ask this specific question. It came out of nowhere. Nobody gave me the advice, nothing like that. And I just did it. And I had butterflies in my stomach because I was so excited to see what would happen. Normally when I post in Facebook groups, especially randomly, I get maybe a couple of comments, a couple of likes, and that's it. I have... Up to this point, I did it last night, I have 250-something reactions.
Oh, wow.
One post. And I don't even know how many comments. I haven't even gone through all the comments yet. And it was something that I felt like it was a step that my intuition told me to do. It's not something I thought about or that was logical. I was just like, hey, let's just do this and see what happens. And so a lot of times you have either good feelings or bad feelings about something, and it could be like a gut feeling, it could be butterflies in your stomach, tingles down your spine. It's usually something like that tells you that what you're doing is right or wrong, or what you're feeling or what someone is saying to you is right or wrong. So take that into consideration and lean into it. Just be curious about that feeling for a little bit and see where it leads you. Because I always say, don't follow your heart. Do not follow your heart, but lead with your heart. Because it can take you to really amazing places. So that's what I would tell her. Just lead with your heart, because it'll get you there.
Yeah.
And trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trust the process, because I want things instantly, like I want it to happen now. And when it's not happening now, I get really annoyed and frustrated. So I tell her to just trust the process and trust that what she wants, she'll get, because if the past couple of years have taught me anything, I always get what I want. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I don't know how or why, but eventually I always get what I want. So I want her to know that she will get what she wants no matter what, so she doesn't have to worry about it.
And do you think part of you getting what you want is the fact that you're taking steps towards that instead of, I think a lot of people will want certain things but not be in action towards them?
Of course. I mean, it's easy to dream. Everybody can dream about what they want. Everybody can decide what they want. Like, the three of us can be like, yeah, I want a Ferrari.
Like, you wanted our whole lives.
Yeah, it's easy to want. But the real thing is realizing what steps you need to take and working towards it, and still believing that you are going to get that thing. Mm-hmm. And we're going to dive, I guess we're kind of diving into manifestation there, because I feel like a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm going to manifest this by saying this is what I want and focusing on it really, really hard. Like, no, like part of that focus is actually doing the things it takes to get what you want.
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss that part in, what was the thing that came? The Secret or whatever. It was like, yeah, just wish, hope, and pray for it. And I think even in some religions, like I grew up and it's like, just ask for it. But it's like, and I think Whitney and I have had conversations about this too, when it's like you're wishing and hoping and praying for something, and then, you might get an idea or something, but you ignore it because you're still just sitting there waiting for your prayer or whatever to be answered. And it's like, homie, I just gave you $1 million idea.
Right.
And you just are still sitting there. So I don't know what to tell you.
Amen. It's like this. It's like this story. I forgot who used to tell me the story, but it was like there was a man who was drowning, and he prayed to God. He was like, God, please save me from drowning. And 3 boats came by and asked him if he needed help, and he said, "Oh no, God is gonna help me. I prayed to God, he's coming to help me." And then finally God comes to him and he's like, God, what took you so long? Like, I was asking you to help me. And he was like, God was like, I sent you 3 fishermen,
Right.
3 boats to help you, and you said no.
Like, 3 times already. What are you talking about?
Right? Like, you would have been fine, but you did. Like, now you're dead. So
now you're gonna have to start all over again.
Look what happened to you.
Right.
It's like, you want something, that's cool. And honestly, like, I've even fallen into that trap where it's like, I'm really good at manifesting what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm a good manifester, so I'm going to say I want 4 clients this month. And then I didn't do anything to get 4 clients that month. And it was like, why don't I have any clients? And it's like, did you really do anything to get those clients?
You post on anything. Right.
So yeah, it's not like magic. It's not like happens.
That's what my grandma will always say. She'd be like, it's not magic. He's not magic. So stop just praying and not doing anything.
It can be magical when you realize that you can actually create it and make it happen, but it's not going to happen in the form of magic. Like,
right, where it just appears already done, and wow, how did that's just amazing.
Right? Like, I feel like part of it, though, is also part of believing in it, because there's that quote, actions speak louder than words, right? Mm-hmm. So you can say, I believe I'm going to have a Ferrari, but like, consistently working towards that Ferrari shows more about what you believe than you just saying that you believe that you can have one.
So
like
true.
Going to work or starting your own business or whatever it takes for you to get the Ferrari, saving up your money for like 5 years, that shows a lot more belief in yourself and what you can accomplish than just saying, I believe I'm going to get a Ferrari.
Or like a picture on the wall.
Or like having a picture on the wall.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, technically in that moment, you do have a Ferrari.
True.
So you have manifested a Ferrari. It's all about how you want to look at it.
Right. It may have some limits.
Right.
Can't drive it,
but you did it, Claire. You did it.
Go ahead, then.
Right. Did that. If you were to say anything to anyone who has been in a situation where they feel trapped by their parents' own belief systems, religion, where they just feel like there's not room for them to be themselves, and they're, 12, 13, 14, 15, what would you say to them to help them feel more powerful in their situation?
Don't stop believing.
Yes.
So that's one. I'm such a dork. But that's one. Don't stop believing in the dream that you want. Whatever it is that sounds good to you, even if it doesn't make any sense. Because literally, like, the thing I would dream about is having my own apartment. Like, I can't wait until I have my apartment and I can decorate it and make it nice. Like, that was my thing. And to be honest with you, I still don't have that. Because I ended up moving in with roommates and I couldn't decorate it the way I wanted and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm not there yet. And it's been 2 years. But I believe that I will get there eventually. And it might not be an apartment. It could be a house. Who knows? Either way, I'm going to get what I want. But so don't stop believing in the things that you know that you want. Because, as I said, it's not just me who always gets what I want. Like, you will get what you want. It may take a little longer for you to get there, but you will get it, because whatever it is that you desire was placed in you because it's something that you are meant to have. So that's what I strongly believe, because people have different desires for a reason. Mm-hmm. So don't stop believing in that. Also, there was something else. The thing that I feel like I really, really needed to hear was, and like at the time, and I feel like other people would need to hear, is that you really need to just, I guess, just trust yourself and really, like, don't really rush. Don't try to rush things or try to rush yourself. Just be very honest and candid with yourself and really be honest about what you can be capable of. Because, and yes, here's what I need to hear. Don't end things too early. I know it can be tempting sometimes because of the situation, and especially depending on your state of mind, it can be very tempting to want to end things because you don't feel at home. Your soul, because it's desiring all these things and not getting it, it doesn't feel at home. Your soul is searching for a feeling and it's not getting it, so it's not going to want to be here. It's not going to want to be in this physical world. It's not going to want to be here. And you're going to want to end your life so that you don't have to be here anymore. And you may even romanticize death. Don't judge yourself. I'm not judging you. I completely understand where you're coming from. But really, really, really stick it out. Stick it out. Because you have a greater purpose. You have something that you're supposed to accomplish here. And you are going to get what you want. You are going to get the life that you want. Don't make yourself the reason that you don't get it. Don't put yourself in your own way, okay? So there are going to be obstacles, people, situations, life that are going to come up, but don't let yourself be one of those obstacles. Just because you have enough. You're going to have enough obstacles along the way. Like, don't add yourself to the list. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
That was awesome. That was a beautiful message for people who feel like that.
Thank you. And if you need help, ask. People love helping people. Like, if nobody helps you, like, email me and I'll help you. I'm sure you will find somebody who will help you before you even reach me. But if you really, really want to talk to me, like, I will talk to you. Like, I'll make the time to talk to you because I want to help. So there's that too. Ask for help when you need it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we get trapped in ourselves and don't think that there's anything. I think you mentioned that earlier. You know, you get so much into yourself and we feel lost and stuck. And it's like, oh, wait, there are 7 billion people
right
here, planet. But yeah, well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for talking to us, sharing your story. It's powerful, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. So what's next for you?
What is next for me? Ooh. Well, I'm planning on landsliding into 2019 because the last couple of months have been way too difficult for me not to turn this year into a winning year.
Yeah.
So there's that. So I'm working on, actually, with my business, I'm working on doing a complete overhaul with the way I show up and the way I serve my people. So right now I offer custom website services, and I'll still be offering that, but it will no longer be my main service. By the end of this year, I will mostly switch my business to templates, premium templates, because there are so many sucky templates out there that I feel like I would do a lot more good if I created beautiful templates, custom made by me, obviously, so that the web could be a more beautiful place. That's literally my goal. So that's what's new for me there. That's what's coming up for me there. And then I'm just trying, right now I'm really trying to get, like, personally, I still feel trapped emotionally in terms of my relationship with my parents. I still feel very, very trapped. Even though they're no longer part of my life, et cetera, I still feel trapped. So I want to be able to get out of that So personally, that's what I'm working on, just getting out of that, and even still trusting my intuition more. Like, I'm still working on that. So those are the things that are next for me that I'm working on right now. Just being a better person, being a better Samoa.
Those are great goals too.
So where can people find you?
You can find me. Usually I'm hanging out on Instagram at Inked by Samoa. It's INKD by Samoa. But I'm gonna be spending a lot more time on my website because I am adding tools so that you can even talk to me while you're on my site. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So literally just go on Instagram or go to inkedbysamoa.com. And if you want to reach out to me, talk to me, schedule a coffee date, whatever you want, like, let me know. And I'll fit you into my schedule so we can talk because I like connecting with people.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Samoa. It was such
Thank
a pleasure
you.
meeting you.
Thank you. I'm so glad I got to do this. This is fun.
If you enjoyed this week's podcast, please help us spread this story by
subscribing however you're listening, rating this podcast, and commenting and following on our social media.
and thank you for you.